y'all. Let me clear my throat. So, welcome to this Virgo full moon ceremony. This will be a little different because in this live stream, we're going to discuss not only the astrology, what it what kind of effect it has on us, the general public, but we're also going to be talking about certain things that are going on right now, like us being on the brink of World War III, as well as the ego death, the public and nasty ego death that is Kim Kardashian and Kanye. Interestingly enough, they both have Pisces moons and they are both air signs. And it's interesting just because of the planetary alignment and what is currently happening, not just with them, which is public and slenderous, but also with us, the human collective, outside of fame, outside of celebrity, that we're starting to see what is the real and we're no longer being glamorized. So let me start off this ceremony with lighting up this stage. Hopefully y'all had a great Saturday. I know the full moon was on the 18th, a Friday, but today I decided to do the ceremony. So let's clear out this room of bad energy, bad juju, bad vibes. Let us be in our most positive and highest of space. Let's make sure that these messages come out clear and helpful and beneficial. We are only using certain topics and certain public personas to drive home the need to do our spiritual cleansing, our self-reflection, as well as our cutting and healing process. This is only using these people as an example and obviously for our highest and best intentions. Ashe, ashe. Let us do 3 taps from the singing bowl and then we shall proceed. And I just remembered my lavender spray. So let me see if I can find that real quick. And then we will, for real, proceed. There it is. Ha. 1 inhale, exhale with the lavender spray. Totally organic, totally natural. It helps us be present and mindful and be in our highest energy and vibration as I get these messages. Okay, so as I discussed, this is the full moon in Virgo. We're currently in Pisces season, inching closer towards Aries season, but right now we are dealing with the shadow, the unknown, that Pisces energy. It's sensual, it's secretive, it's hidden, it's alluring. And like I said, in regards to Kim and Kanye, they both have Pisces moons and they are air signs, Kanye being a Gemini. And that is ruled by that Mercurian energy. Mercury, the communication, the logistics. It's like you don't see it coming. It's thought process. It's the cognitive. It's like you know how someone can explain to you what emotional maturity is, but like if you're 8, you're kind of like, what? But I hope by the time you're like 28, you're kind of like, oh, like you can understand complex theory and conversations that are more nuanced. It's that Mercury mind energy, as well as Kim is a Libra, that Venus energy, that compatible, that justice, diplomatic, friendly, the energy of like, let's break even. This is also in regards to marriage and collectives, right? So these type of energies that are going to be talked about further on in this particular live stream, we're going to go over the astrologies and where the planetary alignment currently is and how that is affecting us, the general public, but also these two people and why you cannot use magic and you cannot use manipulation and glamour spells. And one can argue that cosmetic surgery is a form of magic, is a form of glamour spells, especially when you see these dramatic transformations. I'm not even talking about like the standard cosmetic, like rhinoplasty, getting your nose done or getting your breasts augmented. I'm talking about like the type of surgery where it's like I would have never known your original face, the type of like foolishness and magician energy as you see with Kylie. Like if you seen Kylie before the plastic surgery and after the plastic surgery, you would swear that those are two different people. And that is a form of magic. That is a form of glamour, right? So we're going to talk about that more later on. Um, but what they both have in common, besides both of them being moon signs in Pisces and both of them being sun signs in air signs, is that they both wanted to be adorned for shallow and light reasons. Of course, Kanye, the typical, like, I want to be a celebrity, I want to be famous, I want to be a megalomaniac, I want people to worship me. And Kim Kardashian, the same thing too. Famous for nothing, clout chasing, being able to use that Venusian sexual energy, that temptation energy to quid pro quo, scratch my back, I scratch your back, sexual energy, and using particular men. It reminds me very much of that Samson and um, Samson and Delilah story of like these men who are weak, who are easily tempted by flesh. They are able to be conquered by this Lilith dark energy to get what she wants. Lilith wants the power. Lilith wants the control, right? And nothing says control like money. Every man that these Kardashians have been able to seduce, in particular black men, they never come out as good as when they went in. What do I mean by that? Odom damn near passed out and died of a drug overdose at a brothel in like some Nevada ranch somewhere. Tristan is in and out infidelities, and I don't think his like NBA game is even that all that. I don't hear people talk about him like they talk about LeBron or Kyrie Irving. Like he's damn near not on the radar. And these other men always come off mentally not there, right? We have the Rob brother, who's I guess the male version of them. They don't do anything for their fame, so he's just famous by association. And he sells socks, I think. I don't know, but like he's just there too, right? And it seems like he has a lot of self-esteem issues, a lot of like needing control over women, in particular being around that dark Venusian Lilith energy of his sisters and his mother, seeing the way that they manipulate, they emotionally manipulate. And he does the same thing to women who hurt him or he deemed hurt by or he feels rejected by. He put out Aaron Bylon's nudes. He basically try to like revenge porn and blackmail Black China. He has this energy of like if he feels emasculated or inferior to women in some shape, way, or form, or he interprets that, he turns around and tries to hurt these women emotionally, like emotionally manipulative, just like his sisters. So, and then we all know like Bruce turned into Caitlyn. So, like this energy of their toxicity and how they are able to work men and manipulate men for their own selfish gain is what we're seeing within Kim that has played out throughout the marriage with her and Kanye. Um, it's not like we didn't see this coming. The marriage lasted a lot longer than we thought, but it's also a lot more messier than we thought. If you saw the movie Deep Waters on Hulu, it is a great example of what we're going to cover in this tarot reading. I just saw that before I hopped up on camera, and I was kind of like, should I let this full moon ceremony pass by? Because, like, though I can do the tarot reading, like, do I really want to? Like, do I feel energetically there? It's kind of like, whatever. Then I saw that movie, and I was just like, I get it. I get it. And short little bloop, and then we'll move right back into the tarot reading. But if you don't understand how he's complicit and she's complicit, you miss the mark of the movie, and we'll just leave it there. But that is very much of the energy that we're going to be exploring within this tarot reading. Now, the full moon is in Virgo. Virgo is that work energy, that routine energy. It is the health, right? It's also the sixth house. And this is where in astrology, this is very much your public image. This is earth energy. Earth, Virgo, the sign, as well as Taurus and Capricorn is grounded. It's work, it's your material gains, it's your physical health. This is what people can see about you, your public face, your reputation, your discipline. Whereas Pisces, a water sign, which shares the water aspects with Scorpio and Cancer, Pisces is very much like the hidden, the unseen. It's the sensual, it's the healing. And within these light and dark aspects, this is what we have to recognize about ourselves, what we want, and the shadow aspects of that desire. Why do we want it? What is our intent behind it? And is it for our betterment, or is it to hinder us and play out these tropes and these negative personal character flaws, or even just like negative scoping mechanisms or programmings that no longer serve us? So let me pull up where the astrology is right now. And the website is theplanetstoday.com. And here we are. So Mercury is in Pisces. And again, Mercury rules over Gemini. Kanye is a Gemini with that Pisces moon. So we're dealing with both of their energies going back and forth. It's straight shooting energy. It's like, how can I destroy you in the public image? How can I make you look like an abuser? Now that I no longer want to be with you, or the glamour spells are wearing off, now you're an abuser. But when you were out here saying Harriet Tubman wasn't that big of a deal and slavery wasn't a choice, that wasn't abusive. When you were out here being pompous and arrogant, telling Taylor Swift that her album wasn't as good as Beyonce's, or whatever the case may be, it wasn't abusive then. When he was out here being a horror, being a terror, especially towards black women, just black women getting hit with stray bullets of insults for no reason, he wasn't a bully. It's until the rich white woman starts crying her Karen tears, now all of a sudden he's a danger to women. But all those other times he wasn't dangerous to women. Okay. White feminism in action. Venus is in Aquarius. Venus enters Pisces Tuesday, April 5th, 2022. And then with Venus being ruled by, not Venus being ruled by, but Aquarius, Venus being in Aquarius. So Aquarius is the 11th house. This is the house of public image. This is the house of group collectives. And nothing says group collectives like the internet, air sign. So this is in regards to other people's opinions, technology, group like connectivity. The fact that YouTube exists, YouTube is a platform that connects us all. So with Venus being in Aquarius, it's their broken ego, it's their arrogance, it's their shallow selves, their childish selves, needing to validate what is what, needing to excuse, needing to tear each other down. Which celebrity, Kanye or Kim, has a bigger fan base? Which one of them can manipulate more? Which one of them can get attention more? Which one can they publicly manipulate the public to be on their side versus the other side? It's very much giving tease of like little kids in elementary school trying to snitch on each other. Like, oh, Jimmy got an extra crayon. Oh, and it's just like, these are two wealthy people, one of the most recognizable and wealthy individuals on this planet, telling us peasants, oh, look at what the other person did, as if they didn't know who the other one was before they got with each other. The gag. Mars is in Aquarius. Mars enter Pisces Thursday, April 14th, 2022. Jupiter is in Pisces. Jupiter enters Aries at Tuesday, May 10th, 2022. With Jupiter being Pisces, Jupiter is very much of like that dumb luck energy, things going your way. It's kind of whimsical. It just happens. It's just something that you didn't have to work for, but here it is, and it's in abundance. And with Jupiter being in Pisces, with Mercury being in Pisces, and Jupiter being relatively in alignment with Pisces, this is also how to like tarnish each other's brand. It's kind of like big bank take little bank. They both, Kanye and Kim, are wealthy, very wealthy, and they both are able to publicly manipulate the public. And they're trying to see, with this love hate relationship, with this destructive energy, they're trying to see who has more favor within the media complex, Hollywood, who has the biggest pull, the biggest brand, the biggest connection to be able to tear each other's brand down, because it's really the fight of the egos, a public ego death. And they're trying to see who has more sway and whose bank is bigger, whose connections are tighter. It's very much needing for validation, that insecurity, as well as that control factor, very much the emperor in reverse, that dictatorship, that these bitches are my sons, so to speak, if I'm going to quote Nicki Minaj, that type of energy. Uranus in Taurus. Uranus goes station direct in Taurus, Wednesday, August 24th, 2022. Neptune in Pisces. Neptune goes station direct in Pisces, Tuesday, June 28th, 2022. Pluto in Capricorn. Pluto goes station retrograde in Capricorn, Friday, April 29th, 2022. Chiron in Aries. Chiron goes station direct in Aries, Tuesday, July 19th, 2022. So we're seeing a lot of energies that are coinciding and will come to a head in April. And April's not too far from here. So we're getting like foreshadowed energy of what's to come in April. April is technically the brand new year, depending on which culture you're pulling from. And if you're into astrology, you're into zodiac, you're into tarot, you know, for us on the spiritual side, our new year starts in April, because April, Aries first sign, and technically March is the end of the new year. So you're seeing a lot of energies that have started in this Pisces month, this Pisces energy that will be continuing on in April, and a lot of it will be energies pushing and pulling on each other. Okay, so we're going to pull up an article explaining what the full moon means, and then we will get into the tarot part with Kim and Kanye. So I'm pulling up an article from Refinery 29. The Virgo full moon knows what we want before we want it. When we talk about Pisces and Pisces season, we often speak of the dissolution of borders and boundaries. The Pisces archetype dream, hops, and time travels, feels itself a part of everything and belonging to no one. Yet Pisces season is also a season of cast, Virgo influence, and stark relief. Virgo being the sign of inventory, of category and extension, critical separation. What is one to make a Virgo full moon that it hasn't already made for of itself? Tireless, the Virgo full moon gathered the dispersed reflections of Pisces sun, trying to make meaning where meaning dissolves. This duality isn't a fixed one. How could it be when neither sign stays fixed? Rather, they live and flow, one energy complementing the other in a synergy that is also found in the Two of Cups card, and above that, the Lovers. It just so happens that the Lovers card is associated with 2022. And so the theme of the Lovers feels particularly potent. When it comes to lunations and the tarot, few people are better mind than Sarah Faith Gossendiner, author of the Moon Book and publisher of many Moons planners and workbooks. In her Moon Beaming podcast episode detailing the theme of lovers, Gottesdiener helps recontextualize the work that the Lovers card does within us. The different archetypes we try on are all connected, and we can loosen our grip and not have such a narrow gaze, she says. It's about taking those boxes you will put yourself in. It's about really trying to deconstruct and dismantle these boxes. She speaks to the ways that Lovers card encourages us to see how dualities exist together, how new combinations, new unions are a form of intervention and innovation. I'd also like to remind that the Lovers card used to be the choice card, but now it's called the Lovers card, number 6 in the major arcanas. It's very much that Gemini Mercury energy, and we currently know Mercury's in Pisces. So we're seeing a lot of lovers turn into enemies. Like, they say there's a saying that goes like, deception is never, what makes deception so bad? It's never done by someone you don't know, because that's the deception of it all. Like, it has to be someone within your crew, someone within your network, like sleeping with the enemy. It's never someone from afar, because it wouldn't be deception. It's kind of like, damn, like I didn't see that coming. But it's always deception. It always feels like a knife in the back when it's someone that is closest to you. And when we're talking about that Pisces energy, it's very much the unseen. It's like the pregnant mother. You don't see the baby forming, but pregnancy, 9 months, the baby is forming within the womb. And then when it's time for the child to come into this plane, the child breaks through the barrier and they are in the present reality. So in between that energy of being in the womb and coming out the womb, technically you're dead and alive at the same time, because you have no idea what's happening. So you're waiting for the inevitable, inevitable, but you also don't know that this could be the next step into coming into this plane, actually existing and living. So you're not sure what is, but you're also not sure what isn't, and you're in this limbo stage, this purgatory type of stage. And I feel like within that whole conversation that is happening between Kim and Kanye, they're really seeing what is. It's kind of like, for those who believe in the whole lizard people, lizard creatures who secretly rule the world. If that was the case, in this analogy, Kim and Kanye are seeing each other for the lizard people that they really are. It's kind of like when you try to make excuses for somebody because you really, really like them. So you're like, oh, they don't have bad table manners, and oh, they don't lie. A little few white lies. We all tell little white lies, not that serious. But like, this person just lies about everything. It's like, when you really can't make any more excuses, because like, it is what it is, and now you just seem like an enabler. Is that type of energy. Or like, someone has betrayed you for the first and last time, if you have esteem. Or for other people, it might be like, betrayed you for like the 150th time, like 149. It was tough, but I ate those. But the 150th time, absolutely not. But whatever time it is, someone's recognizing what it is and what it isn't. And it's kind of like that moon card energy. The major arcana is number 18. Like, the clouds are like opening. You're starting to see the clarity. You're starting to see your own shadow, your own fears, your own insecurities, your own fuck ups, as well as you're starting to see what you're dealing with, the man in the mirror. It's kind of like when people are like, oh, I'm a good person, I'm a good guy, but they always have to say that they're good. If you were good, it would just speak for itself. Your deeds would just speak for itself. But the fact that you continuously have to reaffirm that tells me, I don't think so. It's that type of energy. What did I leave off? The Virgo full moon loves boxes. She loves to acquire them, give them a purpose and a place. With this full moon making a trine to Pluto and Capricorn, whatever fills these boxes also burdens them. There's a sense that the information we're working with, the things that have come up and seek attendance, are older than the present moment and outside time. Neptune's loose conjunction to the Sun and sextile to both Pluto and Capricorn, the North Node in Taurus, only serves to stretch time further into many worlds and countless iterations. The future is present, the present is past, the vibes are psychic, and everything within us is looking for a release. If the valves open under the stars of Virgo, then the valve is tight opening, and tight openings, we know, are quick to rupture. The influence of this lunation is persistent. knowing what we want before we want it, giving us what we want before we're sure we're ready for it. Under the Virgo full moon's perceptive light and 2 weeks that recover from it, it's likely that in the search for a release, we might find ourselves returning to old habits, old haunting grounds, and old coping mechanisms unconsciously. It's important to remember that any form of return, including relapse and repatriation, is an opportunity to recognize differences. You are different from who you were. It is a different from it is different from what you remember, and nothing stays the same. Awesome Drake shit. The past self and meet at these. Ooh, huh. Spirit wanted me to say that. I'm gonna finish this up and I'm gonna say what I gotta say. The past self you meet at these places of rupture has been waiting for you. It means to integrate. It wants you to know what all your cells are necessary where you are going and none of them. Not even the one you feel you are now. No knows where it is you'll end up. So I wanted to say that particular part because Mr. Drake. Remember when Kanye flipped his shit because people were alleging, Kiki, do you love me? Are you writing? And Drake wouldn't confirm or deny that it was about Kim, and people were putting their Twitter conspiracy theories out there, checking the lyrics for coded Da Vinci Code language and this and that. They said, "Oh, Kim and Drake's house are like 15-minute walk a destination and all." I didn't even know you had celebrities' addresses. I didn't know you even have this information just ready. But they were able to put all the pieces together, and it was alleged. People were like, "Damn, Kanye and Drake beefing." Kanye put out like Drake had a oopsie baby, like this animosity, and for like Kanye to see that the same woman he was out here defending, caping, trying to make a quote unquote honest woman out of her after the sex tape, turns around and sleeps with the one man that he's super, super, super insecure about, that he feels that is competition to, because Drake arguably has the same amount of clout and influence in the cultural space of hip hop, rap, black cultural spaces as Drake. I feel like they're very much head to head, but for Kanye, he felt that he has his Kim, Jay-Z has his Beyonce, Drake could have had Rihanna or Serena Williams, but fumbled the bag horribly, fumbled the future horribly, fumbled the genetic pool horribly. But that's another discussion for another day. He could have had Rihanna, and they would have been like women of prestige, women from a particular class. But at the end of the day, however, it fell with Drake and Rihanna or whatever other woman, Kanye felt like he had his prize. He made her a quote unquote honest woman. But when Drake was able to, and it's alleged that Drake really did hit, that Drake knew what to do to get under Kanye's skin, and then Kanye returned the favor by outing or having Pusha T, one of his artists on his label, Good Music, put out that Drake has an Uzi baby. The assassin was Pusha T, but like who set up the commands was Kanye. But nonetheless, the fact that Drake could use that trump card over Kanye, that never sat well with him, especially since like Kanye has been trying to do repair on Kim Kardashian's reputation ever since he started dating her when she was married to Chris Humphries. But nonetheless, I want to give us some backstory of what we're dealing with, so then when we split the cards, it makes more sense to why this shadow energy that's coming up. The full moons means to release. It's why it is illuminated. So everything that you want to release, you want to let go, you want to clear space from, cut, clear, remove toxic energies, people, places, and things. The full moon is definitely the place and time for that removal spiritually, especially since this is Pisces season, where we are releasing, where the shadows becoming more apparent. And like I said, when it comes to Virgo's very much a public image, which is the Virgo full moon, And with Pisces energy is very much hidden. So that dark and light aspect, Virgo would be more of the light, where Pisces would be more of the dark. And this is why when we're doing these full moon ceremonies, it is in the dark. So you can be illuminated of the things that are repressed, the things that are shadow, the things that aren't so obvious. The material, that's not the material, whereas Virgo would be the material, whereas not the material, it's the spiritual, it's the mental, it's the unforeseen. So let's get into the background of the two characters that we are discussing. Why is Kim and Kanye trying to destroy each other in the public arena? So it's because of, essentially, to wrap it up, but we're going to dissect it later on, their intent for wanting to be famous and what they were willing to do to gain that fame, that notoriousness, is why that has benefited them greatly in the public space, in the social space. Like whatever Kanye tweets out goes viral. And of course, it works from them brand wise. Kanye in music and fashion, and Kim with whatever else that she's stealing and ripping off from, like Instagram. Whatever the case may be, it has worked for them. But the same thing that has worked for them, Virgo energy, structure, material, routine, wealth, earth, is the same thing that's working against them in regards to their relationship, in sense of business partners, in the sense of former spouses, in the sense of parenthood. It's not as easy as I block you on Instagram when you my baby mama. It's not so easy to use the same narcissistic method to get public sympathy when we both see that your classes, one may, I mean, shoot, both actually may be racist, and you're only doing this because it's basically a dick swinging contest, one with a Venusian style and the other one with a bipolar style, but nonetheless, who has more public favor to destroy the other one for their own arrogant, egotistical way? But let's get into the details. Let's get into the nitty gritty. Kanye, when he came into the industry, and this is even before his album College Dropout came out, Kanye was kind of an oddball, because when Kanye came onto the scene, he was kind of rejected by mainstream rap, which was very much 50 Cent, very much of that gangstalicious triple 3XL shirts, gangsta sagging. Kanye was coming out and he was like, no, that's not my lived experience. And I actually went to college, but like I fell back on that rap shit because that really mixes with my authentic self. So he was kind of like not seen as credible, or not seen as the hottest next thing coming into the game, because he wasn't trying to fit into that gangstalicious package. But at the time, he happened to be Dame Dash's flunky, but he ended up switching sides to Jay-Z when he saw that Jay-Z had a better opportunity in the music industry, especially when it came to crossover appeal. Dame wanted to really keep it more grunge, more hood aesthetics, more like rapping, you can even say gangstalicious vibes, whereas Jay-Z had the same, grunge, gritty, hip hop rap sound, but he also wanted to have crossover appeals to be able to do songs with um, Linkin Park and be able to be seen even in a rock and roll pop culture aesthetic. Hence him marrying Beyonce. Um, Kim always wanted, however, when it comes to Kim, Kim always wanted to be famous just because. She was raised in Beverly Hills and in high school dated Michael Jackson's nephew and was close enough to the stars but wasn't part of their iconic legacy. Meaning that, yes, she lived in Beverly Hills. Yes, she went to the same schools as these former child stars, or went to the same schools as these pick your favorite musicians from the 80s and 90s who currently has a kid now. Like that nepotism in Hollywood, like they are children of so and so and this, that, and the third. Hence Aunt Becky being able to buy her daughter's way into college. It's that type of energy. So, like, yes, Kim was brought up around these people, but she wasn't a part of them. She wasn't a part of Hollywood. She wasn't a part of pop culture. She just had a father that worked on O.J. Simpson's case, but that was her father's fame. It wasn't hers. So it's kind of like being the black sheep, where it's like, oh, my father was a musician. My father was a producer. My mother's an actress. My mother is a supermodel. And Kim is just like, well, my father worked on the O.J. Simpson case. So it's like, yeah, by class status, she had the proximity, but she didn't have the social clout. Kim, wanted to gain the public's attention like her gal pal Paris Hilton, who Kim used to style for. So Paris Hilton was one of the first, arguably, to be able to be famous for just being famous. There wasn't any skill set that she had. Supposedly she's a DJ. I don't think so. But it's the particular energy of like, I have social clout and I leverage that as a good. I leverage that as some type of service. Me being in existence is good enough. That's where that nepotism thing comes from. And then they turn into the Menendez brothers. But that's a different commentary for a different video. But nonetheless, being in close proximity to Paris, being her stylist, was fame adjacent. I guess she can get certain clout within Hollywood, or a table magically opens for her, and she was maybe able to leverage that. But that wasn't her own clout. As well as Kim with her ego. Do you really think that she would settle just for being like the pet rich white girl's friend? Like, she did not want to be the Nicole to Paris. She wanted to be Paris and outdo Paris, right? Her being the middle child, and oftentimes the middle children are always overlooked and forgotten. Whereas the baby, the youngest child is the baby, the oldest child is the oldest, the middle child is kind of somewhere in the middle, is like, call out if you need us, but for the most part, we don't recognize you exist. It's kind of that energy. That energy of being overlooked, that energy of being dismissed, that energy of not being chosen and not seen as the creme de la creme, or not having people fawn over you. That envy, but that desire to want that, Kim, is part of the reason why she decided to do whatever she could to get put on. And we know what she did to get put on. So, for Kim being the middle child, a second-rate celebrity compared to her peers, and wanting adoring fans just because she allegedly, Kim, concocted a plan to leak her own sex tape. It worked for Paris Hilton. It worked for Lindsay Lohan. It worked for Pamela Anderson, who were already famous in their own right, but with the sex tapes, it definitely boosted their stardom and public fascination. This is when the TMZ was out here talking about fire crotch and shit. Like, it made for good, salacious tabloid. And the women who got exploited, they ended up getting their star power rise. It was out of their, reputation being fucked with. It was out of people dismissing them and thinking of them as sluts or whatever. It was out of even the public, even the fanfare, even the paparazzis not respecting these women's personal space. You know how they damn near ripped Britney Spears to shreds. It was that type of energy. But Kim needed a gimmick, something that was eye-catchy, that didn't make her want to be a second-rate celebrity sex tape leak victim. So she had enough clout to be able to get noticed, but she didn't have enough clout that noticed that aren't you Paris Hilton stylist? Like, it wasn't enough for people to be like, oh, is that Kim Kardashian? So she needed something that would make people remember her as Kim Kardashian and not Paris Hilton's stylist who dropped the sex tape. She wanted to be exotical enough to garner attention, but not too ethnic, where she would be seen as a mediocre amateur porn star. Kim decided to go under the knife to get breast and butt enhancements. During the 2008-2009 era, fake butts were coming on the scene, and a lot of video vixens and other black sex workers were getting back alley butt shots. This is also the time when Nicki Minaj came out in a scene. So it was definitely the time of like big enhanced diaper booties. Even like Tiny got her ass done. T.I.'s wife, whatever. Um, Everybody wanted to have this like very outrageous and proportional cult body type of body. It was on the rise. An illegal, unlicensed butcher doctor to insert fillers in their buttocks in hopes their butts would look bigger. So yes, the whole point of having the big outrageous butt was to, in their minds, look better in their minds, the women who get this procedure, to get male attention, particularly black male attention, particular gangstalicious type of black male's attention. And they felt like it added to their character, it added to their esteem. Now they are sought after because they have this outrageous big old fake butt. But oftentimes this big old fake butt was done by people who again are unlicensed, and they would put fake fillers or ungraded fillers or just things like, hey, you're not even supposed to be putting your body, even if it was good for you. But especially if it's not, I've heard stories where women will put concrete in their asses, fillers, like the stuff you get from like Ace, the hardware store. Like people were just doing the absolute most. People were going out of country to get a discount on getting their butts done, and they fucked around and had to like remove their parts of their butts because it got eroded. It got bad. It just rot. It just rot. Some people lost their limbs. A lot of women learned to love themselves with the increase of fake booties, and even K Michelle from Love and Hip Hop, she even had to go to the hospital and get all types of surgeries done. There was serious consequences. A lot of women even passed from that, trying to capture the gaze of a particular type of male. Kim dated Ray J at the time of the sex tape leak and decided to shoot her shot at fame. Kim allegedly had her mother, the madam of the Kardashian mother, Kris, tape the leak and manage Kim's scandalous sex tape and famous for nothing career afterwards. From Ray J to Reggie Bush to Chris Humphries to Kanye West, Kim publicized her soap opera family through Ease Keeping Up with the Kardashians, where fans could gorge their envy and fascination of white women cosplaying black women while monetizing their scripted borderline personality disorder relationships and female frenemy seasonal relationships. Being with Kanye was the biggest fish Kim could ever wish to catch. With Kanye's music industry connections and solidified fame, Kim could only grow her own wealth and social clout. Meaning, Kanye had to work to get to becoming the musical genius, one of the best rappers alive, greatest producer. Like, he had to work for that. She was able to just climb up the social ladders by proximity. She didn't have to work for anything. She didn't have to work to get to know what designer made this, that, and the third. What are their interns with? Like building those relationships, crossing those paths. Scratching my back, I scratch your back. Finding out who's the barista for Marie Claire and this, that, and like doing that type of hard work. Like all she had to do was be seen with Kanye and then get Kanye's confirmation to her fame by dating him. So where Kanye had to hustle, she just had to exist. Kim could only grow her own wealth and social clout, tagging along her sisters to keep the fame with money and insecurities and potential threats all within the family. So with Kim focusing her brand on the Kardashians, that made sure that there were all the personas that you need. There was all the friends that you needed. Like everybody else who came onto the show was just extras. But like the routine cast was family. So, and there were all women. So there was no cattiness. There was no insecurities in the sense of like, oh, friend might outshine me on my own show, or my friend might end up getting a deal and not cut me a check. Like, there wasn't any of that cattiness. And even though within women there's cattiness, even the Braxton family values, based off of all five women, rest in peace, Tracy, they had cattiness. So there's a difference where it's cattiness between your sisters, because you know you're your sisters and you're always gonna have to repair that relationship. You're gonna have to make your amends. But when it's other women, let's say like the Real Housewives of Atlanta, that's when it becomes more salacious, because now you're chasing views. Everything is fair game. So you can play a Nene Leakes and be a mean girl. You can be a Phaedra, an undercover freak, hoity-toity, wannabe prom queen. You could be a Cynthia, an aloof supermodel, MILF, right? And depending on the season and depending on the public critique, you're going to sway your personality to, again, be a reoccurring cast member, but also to get that front page news. Whereas when you're in the family, you don't have to do all those scandalous and underhanded and even like unreputable things, because you're within family space, as well as like whatever you get as a family, as a brand, it comes and it gets split. Like, what, how many of them are there? Like eight ways, and it's all Kardashian. So all the money stays within the family brand, the family name, and you don't have to share it with other people and other families. It's kind of like when you read those stories, stories about towns once upon a time ago, where like the sheriff's mother is the cook, and the sheriff's brother is the police officer, and the sheriff's daughter does the accounting. It's like everybody that is associated with the sheriff has some high political position or has some high social position. It's like one of those things, but as a family brand. And if there's a woman that they are threatened by, they can always kick her off their show, like Black China. They liked Black China because it got them views, it got them quote unquote Black pass, where a lot of Black women were all of a sudden starting to see the Kardashians in a different light, and it garnered them Black fans and even Black women talking about them. But as soon as Kylie wanted to see what Tyga was about, in a sexual manner as an underage young woman herself, which should have never happened, but it happened on television, exploitation at its finest. Once they were done with China, they got all the clout that they could off of China. They kicked it to the curb, like she didn't matter, like she wasn't enhancing their brand. Whereas within family, you don't necessarily do that, especially since it's the Kardashians with an S, plural. Like a well-organized mafia, the Kardashians were able to spread their influence and retributions throughout the Hollywood who's who industry. Those who weren't fans and were laughing at SNL skits of the wayward Armenian witches soon found themselves lusting and shielding the trio from criticism. With Kanye's cool by association pass into Black spaces, Kim Kardashian was able to blackfish and culturally appropriate right under the noses of Black men and irritably under the watchful eye of Black women. So at the time, Black women couldn't say nothing about Kim Kardashian, because it was like, oh, you're just jealous. Is it because she has a big ass? Oh, even petty things like, oh, is it because she has real hair? Or, oh, is it because she's just better looking? It was just very like, let's cut Black women down, as if Black women need to be cut down even more. As well as a lot of it was just like negging, trying to like deflate the self-esteem of Black girls and young Black women at the time, who were like, no, like she's literally culturally appropriating. She's calling cornrows another weirdo, NIMBY, a culturally appropriating name. Like, that's not what that is. Wearing darker skin makeup, like she looked Eastern European and now she looks like a biracial woman. Lip fillers, doing her makeup eerily similar to Beyonce, like this very Black adjacent cultural access space that she hubs around. I'm pretty sure, does not listen to rap music. I'm pretty sure she has no real deep cultural ties to Black people, Black culture, Black anything. But she looks the part without having to actually form real authentic ties, real authentic memories, real authentic bonds. All she has to do is look the part, catfish the part, but don't have to actually listen to the people, speak to the people, cry with the people, walk with the people. Even her prison reform legal eagle team is not really her. She takes the credit, but it's actually Black women who are actually licensed lawyers who look into these cases, who put in their paperwork and defend these people. Kim Kardashian has not passed the bar. Kim Kardashian can't practice law nowhere, not even in La La Land. But here she is taking credit for, again, Black women's doings while taking the credit. It's like she has a weird fixation on trying to underestimate and undermine Black women. It's like that weird love-hate relationship. Very much of single white female. I hate you because I'm not you. So I'm going to spend my free time trying to trigger you. It's as if she's trying to trigger Black women. It's like as if she wants Black women's attention more than she wants Black men's attention. But anywho, let's get back to the commentary. Being referenced in rap songs, birthing biracial children, using celebrity Black women as backdrops to her paparazzi, etc. This is all the time where she had the Lala Anthony's, the Sierras, all these, the Jordan Woods. They use these Black women, the Kelly Rowlands, to get favor, to be seen with Black women, to be seen like they're part of the in group. And soon as they are able to get that clout, even Trina, they do something scandalous like fuck on Trina's French Montana ex, Chloe Wood French, or something as scandalous as like try to leverage their clout against these Black women, or try to maneuver in spaces that these Black women are not able to access. It's kind of like, oh, you with Sierra, and now it's like, oh, you with Kim. It was one of those situations where it's like, oh, you're cool because you hang out with her, but oh, we're not gonna let her come in. It's one of those type of situation where it's easier for you to get clout off of those who are already dejected, because you could leverage that and be seen as the median person, the person who's able to get the quote unquote Black pass and the quote unquote white pass. Whereas if it was done in reverse, like let's say Estelle, the singer, if she wanted to get the crossover appeal, if she wanted to get the white fan base, she would have to jump through like 18 different hoops. Black women as backdrops to her paparazzi, etc., all the while keeping her neoliberal NIMBYs, Black Lives Matter, yard sale, white tears, microaggression, white fan base, pumping money into her bootleg infringement copycat brand. Now that Kim has had it all, she's still not happy. Having her children reflect to her the worst aspects of her gluttonous and insecure traits, while coming to the realization that fame doesn't soothe an empty soul, nor does money keep, nor can money keep, nor can money make up for a lack of authentic self-worth. Her desire to be that it girl is coming to a hard hold as she ages her body, face, and her as she ages her body, her face, and her brand changes from photo shoot to photo shoot. Kanye is disenchanted, apathetic, and freedom deprived. The glamour spells have weakened and the self-loathing has settled in. Kanye was one of those kids that you had to hold his hand. He was the kid who needed a teacher's aid to redirect his attention. Very much curious and very much impulsive. You could tell because that's the way he thinks and that's very much the way he acts. When he thinks about something, he just has to say it and it doesn't necessarily have to make sense. They're not full sentences. And he's very impulsive. He does not hear what he wants to hear. He will very much, you ain't got the answer, Sway. You ain't got the, because it doesn't align with his preconceived notion. So if you say something that is outside of his realm of scope or his realm of understanding, or he wasn't able to think of it first, his first response is to like reject it. Very much impulsive. Kanye was raised by a Black intellect mother and a former Black Panther and photographer father. Kanye was bound to be in the arts or in academia. What became of Kanye started with college dropout, fresh on the hip hop scene as an underground music producer, wannabe rapper founded by Dame Dash, former business partner of Jay-Z. Kanye West didn't leave a mark on Jay-Z, but he did see interest in Kanye's production skills, while Dame Dash saw all of Kanye's talents. When Rockefeller split and Dame Dash and Jay-Z called it quits, Kanye sideswiped Dame by choosing to ride with Jay-Z and signed to Jay-Z. Kanye's fame started to buzz in 2003 when the neo soul and alternative rap, which some call positive hip hop, became more and more shelved for the more gangstalicious and audacious street sound. With Through the Wire and Kanye's teddy bear childish life-size mascot while rocking the Dora the Explorer knapsack, Kanye was weird, different, yet super talented, and it could be seen all throughout his production. Kanye's fame contributed to grow, and that coincided with a quote unquote beef where 50 Cent and Kanye shared the same album release dates to acquire more interest in not just either 50 Cent or Kanye, but both of them at the same time. And it didn't matter who won the bet. And I believe it was Kanye whose album sold out more. They both were able to garner fame for cross publicity of them having that quote unquote beef. But also, it helped, let's say, certain gangstalicious dudes who were not listening to Kanye put more attention onto Kanye, and pretty much most people would listen to 50 Cent anyway, so like there's that. um but yes, Kanye's fame continued to spread, and all the way through to Taylor Swift's. Kanye's opinions continue to uh be shared publicly and socially, all the way down to Taylor Swift's winning the MTV Music Award, which Kanye West was very much opinionated about, but so was the young Barack Obama of his time. Both bad takes. When Kanye began dating Kim K, that was post Kanye losing his mother due to a botched cosmetic surgery. The same cosmetic surgery, breast surgery, is the same thing that Kim ultimately had as well. It's been alleged Kim's mother kept him on the right path, and without his mother, Kanye's focus and character began to unravel. From Kanye's vices, over partaking into sexual escapades, dating former stripper Amber Rose, and showing up doing the most risque behavior for public reaction, shedding his good boy character with a teddy bear mascot, polo shirts, and Christian influences. As Kanye's lyrics became more grittier, so did his public persona. One could assume it's because of his rap peers who once disparaged him as a lame for not having street affiliations and admittingly to attending higher education for opportunities. Or one could also argue the fame and the fortune went straight to Kanye's ego, and he wanted the world to see that the underdog finally made it. Intoxicated with power, money, and sexual access in ways Kanye never had prior to the fame and the fortune. After dumping Amber Rose for Kim Kardashian, Kanye thought he had the juice, especially since Kim was married to Chris Humphries at the time and fell pregnant with Kanye's baby. So Kanye feels like it's a super betrayal that allegedly, but a lot of people believe it, Drake fucked Kim. But while Kim was married to a whole other man, Kanye impregnated Kim. So it seems like Kim has a energy of betrayal. She has an energy of clout chasing. She has an energy of whoever's hot at the moment. I need to be associated with them. I need to energy harvest off of them. I need to be able to capitalize off of this. So she has no problem running from man to man and collecting every single bag that she can from that proximity. Very much of that succubus energy, very much of that Lilith energy. Many assumed if Donda, Kanye West's mom, was still alive, Kanye wouldn't have found himself in these type of predicaments. Kanye flaunted around Kim Kardashian like the latest iPhone, giving Kim more notoriety and legitimacy, adding Kanye as a reoccurring guest to her TV life and off-air life that increased her Kardashian brand and social status. Whomever questioned the odd couple were bombarded with stan hate and accusations of unfounded jealousy. The more Kanye unraveled and clung onto the Kardashian brand, they were starting to call Kanye Kardashian. They started calling them Kimye. Again, as she devours the clout, devours the energy, very much of that spider web type of magic. The more that she entrances you into her energy, brings you into her world, bring you into her family, the more and more you lose yourself, you lose your authenticity, you lose your perception of what is and what is not. And then over time, your star power, your brand diminishes while hers exponentially uh has several returns over. Hers expands beyond belief while yours starts looking crazy. Just like Humphreys, just like Odom, just like all the other men who got caught up in the Charlotte's Web, the Lilith Web, they all become something other than themselves, a former shell of themselves. So much so people questioned Kanye's sanity and if the Kardashians were mistreating Kanye. Some blamed Kanye's bipolar, others blamed Kanye still grieving his mother, others blamed the Kardashian, most didn't care. But to those who were watching, it seemed like Kanye was losing his life force, including his mind. And that's that Gemini energy, both air signs. Kim's emotional manipulation with the tears, Kim's mediocre, whiny white girl voice, the innocence, right? The white Karen thing of like, I'm aggressive, but if I say it in a softer voice, then I sound like the victim. It's that type of energy, using that Venusian energy, using emotions, using gaslighting to manipulate to get their way. And both of them, Kim with the feminine energy and Kanye with word magic, sorcery, right? Being abusive, but saying it's bipolar. That's not bipolar. That's a character flaw. It's a you thing. So hiding behind certain diagnosis, hiding behind certain musical gifts and talents. Oh, it's not me. I had a long day. I was at the studio. It's always something else other than a character flaw, right? Using that magician energy, that creativity energy, hiding behind accolades. Now that Kim and Kanye are pre middle age, they're both in their 40s, this is the time when you start reanalyzing your life and the decisions one has made. This also is the time when many experience ego deaths. When you wanted to, who you wanted to be, who you thought you were, and who you have no choice but to become. As we all age, our looks become less important, as well as every day someone turns 18, and thus what once worked as a trump card is now seen as a discount coupon. Talking about age, like they say, unfortunately, in the sexist society, men age like fine wine, and then they say women age like spoiled milk, which is bullshit. You know how the patriarchy just wants women to be obsessed with capturing the male gaze. But what I say is to say that our bodies do age. We do lose elasticity. Like our skin becomes more droopy. Like we age, become elderly. Like that's just the point of life. We, Pluto energy, birth and rebirth. But with this particular energy with Kim Kardashian, what worked for her when she was first on the scene, Big Butts was making an explosive comeback. She was able to live at a time where influencers wasn't a thing, social media wasn't really a thing, there wasn't a way of being famous just to be famous. Like it was coming off of the tail end of reality TV. So she came at a particular time with a particular brand and a particular motif. But now that people have seen the blueprint, they're outdoing her in that space. A YouTuber can be an influencer. A YouTuber can have family blogs. They're pulling in numbers. Everybody has a brand deal. Everybody's making calls. It's like you're not that special anymore. And just like she dropped a sex tape, it was scandalous and risque at the time. But people are fucking on Instagram and Twitter all the time for the free. Like porn and exposing your body, whether you want to call it free choice, my body, my choice, whether you want to call it um, the slut walk or whatever, female liberation, whatever you want to call it. People are less ashamed about their body and feeling the need to clothe up. So it's a lot more competition, especially when you're seen as old vintage cooch in your lane, especially when your brand is made up of what you look like at the time. And because youth is always this trophy, this desire to capture, no one wants to be a 40-year-old, even if you're the finest 40-year-old, even if you're the richest, even if you have the access to the most top rated plastic surgeon. You cannot undo the hand of time. You do not age like Benjamin Button. So it is also competition. Maybe you were able to block people out of Hollywood, but you can't block people who just magically become famous, kind of like a Cardi B. Like if it happens, it happens. It doesn't happen often, but when you do it, you set the tone until everybody starts copying the blueprint. Kanye and Kim both see each other for what they are: insecure, money hungry, manipulative, and afraid, scared, delayed adolescent people. Once drunk on power, money, and fame, are now seeing their gold era creeping to an end. Kanye no longer able to hide behind bipolar wealth, musical genius to evade accountability for his toxic behavioral traits. Kim no longer able to use young, dumb, and learning as an excuse for her emotional manipulation, cultural disrespect, and gender racial inferiority complex. The world, particularly her rabid, delusional fan base, are now seeing the spoiled, racist, manipulative, exploitative, classist, fake feminist, mediocre sex worker that Kim Kardashian truly is. As we all age, our love language and our spiritual needs shift as well. And without the glamour, these two see the worst of each other. They are erupting and exploding on each other. And of course, for the public to see. You live by the limelight and you die by the limelight. When you have it all and you still aren't satisfied, you still aren't happy. So we're going to start off with some tarot. We're going to do a 3 deck split. This is the Wild Unknown Tarot deck. It's more seasonal, it's more abstract, and has features of watercolor. So It's what I want, especially when we're talking about the unknown, the hidden, the Pisces energy, when we're talking about the emotions, the shadow aspects, insecurities, and things of that nature, public ego deaths. This is the deck I like to use. And we're going to get some clarifying messages for both Kim and Kanye with the Dark Mirror Oracle cards. They show you the shadow aspects about yourself, the things that you don't want to see, or things that you avoid seeing, right? And then with plastic surgery, again, being a form of magic, you can only get your face pinched so much before you start looking like a cat lady. And I've seen Kim's face get bloated like Cardi after she got those fillers so her eyes didn't have that whole raccoon looking thing going for her. But you can only get plastic surgery so much until you end up looking like Lil' Kim. So even with the magic of plastic surgery, that can only happen for a short period of time. You cannot avoid age. Even with plastic surgery, you cannot avoid aging. It's just the natural process of life. Unless you're trying to say you want to be immortal. And if it was such, God would make it such. You wouldn't have these rebirths in regards to coming back onto this plane. If it was meant for us to live forever, then we would just have that one life experience and not keep coming back and reincarnating back into this world to learn more about ourselves and this thing called the human experience. But nonetheless, you can't evade aging. And when you have children, children teach you the worst and best things about yourself. They show you who you are, from slight little comments to obviously their phenotype and how they look like, to their food, to their interests, to their little habits, the way that they say things, or anything. They just remind you of yourself. And usually when people have kids and they actually, give a damn about their kids, they start reflecting on who they were as children and what type of parent that they want to be and what are some life lessons that they want to teach and things that they want to stop. So it's all coming to a head at the same time, but them being emotionally stunted, very immature, very scared, and abandoned, tension hungry. They live through fame. They can't they don't know how else to process these emotions without trying to get public sympathy, without trying to manipulate, without trying to get a fanfare, because that's all they know. And that's pretty much their brand and how their brand is made up of. So for them, even if, like, for some who are not like full blown I hate Kim Kardashian, they will admit like she's a trash ass person, but she's a decent mother. So that could be her Achilles heel. And to truly want to change, she could really take the initiative if she's sincere about it and change based off the fact that she has love for her children and she wants her children to see her in a different way. That's an example. But also, because they are who they are and they have a reputation and a character flaw, multiple character flaws actually, but their fan bases are not going to tell them the truth. And let's be honest, the greater society treat rich people like they're infants. They treat rich people like they have no common sense, like they lack the ability to empathize. You allow these people to get away with shit that they should never get away with. You suck their dicks literally just to clout chase. Like, you treat them like they are somehow immortal, that they are different from regular people, and then they start to believe this delusional thinking. So now that you're checking them, it feels like an attack because they're so used to people just sweating them just for existing, liking them, praising them just for existing. And now that you're critiquing them and you're holding them accountable, it feels like a threat, it feels like a challenge, it feels like an attack, because they've never been held accountable before. And because they have no other skills, no other way of communicating from a healthy stance, they're not thinking therapy. They're not thinking mediator. They're thinking no different than a delayed adolescent. They're thinking no different than a teenager. Then I'm going to go online and blast them. I'm going to hop on Instagram Line. I'm going to tell my Twitter families. I'm going to put it in a blog. I'm going to call the paparazzi, because that's what a teenage girl would do. Let me call my friends. Let me jump up on my Instagram. Let me put a subliminal tweet out, because they don't have the processing skills. They don't have that cognitive ability to think more mature. And with Kanye, because Kanye went through that car accident a while ago, we don't know how much of that car accident has affected his mental processing, his frontal lobes. Yes, he had his jaw wired shut to heal, but it seems like he could have had a traumatic brain injury, and we don't know how that affects you, especially when we're talking about trauma to the brain. It's not always easy to be seen, especially even with a CAT scan. There's certain things about the brain that science still to this day, science does not know. Fossey can't tell you nothing about, because it's complex. The human brain is so complex. So we don't know if something happened during that car crash that has turned on, turned off, not connected right, chemically unbalanced, that is egging on this persona of this character called Yeezy, Kanye, or Kanye, as some say. But now we're here. So with all the shuffling that I did and cutting the deck, what I will be doing is pulling up these cards individually, and then the deck behind it, I'm going to flip over so we see the back of the deck, and we will be reading from these three cards and the energy that emit from the particular topic. So we have the Lover's card in reverse. Interestingly enough, I did talk about when I read that part in the article from Refinery 29, how this Lover's card, which used to be the Choice card, is a Mercury card, is ruled by Gemini. And we're talking about how people are coming to the realization of what is and what is not, from a spiritual point of view, from a mental point of view. And obviously with Kim and Kanye, they got that divorce, but it's not just like, oh, we're getting a divorce, we're just going to co-parent. It's like, I want to slander you. It's like when you bottle in your emotions for so long and you finally have a chance to scream, and it's like you're screaming from the highest mountaintop. It's like, again, that movie for on Hulu right now, Deep Waters. It's like you could say the dude is psychotic for doing what he does, but you could also say like the woman is fucked up, not from the moral stance necessarily of, oh, well, she's a married woman, she shouldn't have extracurricular activities. However, comma, if she know that her husband's crazy enough to kill these men, then why does she still entrap these men? Same thing could be said about Kim Kardashian. She knows the long game that she is playing. She knows that ultimately that these relationships are only as useful to her as a business agreement. But she will allure, she will enchant, she will do whatever it takes to get these men underneath her thumb. And once she is done with them, she is done with them. She is very much of a spoiled brat. She tramples all over Black culture. She disrespects and triggers Black women on the regular. She only sees Black men as a dick to ride to the bank. And no one, or there hasn't been a group effort or a real social critique as how exploitative they are. And this is America, let's be clear. We can't even hold the everyday Karen that works a 9 to 5 accountable. Like, the same Karens that got people killed, like Emmett Till. So with this particular energy, the Lovers being in reverse, it's very much, I don't like who you are. But it's also the lack of accountability and self-reflection, where it's like birds of a feather flock together, correct? You are judged by the people you hang out with. So I can keep saying you, pointing the finger at you. But at the end of the day, what does that say about me? If I'm kicking it with you, if I'm friends with you, if I made certain decisions on your behalf, if I sold out my own moral code just to get favored by you, I can't turn around and keep on pointing fingers at you, because eventually I start looking crooked too. And that's what they are missing about each other. It's easy to criticize the other person, but as you point, there's always three fingers pointed back at you, and they cannot see their own mistakes. They're very much delusional. We have the Hermit card in reverse to clarify this Lover's card. I feel like with this particular energy, again, we're dealing with that Virgo energy, that Hermit card, the full moon energy. I feel like with this, with the turtles represented with a turtle with a light coming up from the shell, I feel like with this is like no thought process. It's very hollow. It's very much of that arrogant energy. I don't know how else I could say this, but it's giving me very much like Angelica from Recess, where she'd be like, "You dumb babies." It's that type of energy energy, no filter, no ability to like self-analyze, no ability to see like you might be right, but he also might be right. It's very childish. It's very much like trying to pick at insecurities. And it's coming from a place of like emotionally vomiting. It's kind of like when someone's just talking, running their mouths, but they're not saying anything. And this is the particular energy between the two of them. It's unenlightened, with this being a light, unenlightened, unintelligent. This is very much slanderous. It's throwing mud at each other. It's hitting underneath the belly. Now Kim is with Pete Davidson, and he's bipolar legitimately. So you got one woman who's emotionally manipulative dating someone who is borderline, who also uses emotional manipulation. Yeah, tell me how great that's gonna end up being. And then you have Kanye, where it's like he lives for the limelight, he lives for the attention. So now he's out here saying, I can create another one of you. I made that bitch famous. It is very much tit for tat. But people aren't seeing them as children. These are grown ass 40 something year old people acting a plumb fool because they lack the ability to be grown ass people taking care of their grown ass business and being responsible and accountable. We have the Ten of Wands in reverse. I feel like for both of them, they felt burdened by the relationship. I felt like, if I'm going to be real honest, I don't think Kim ever really had that depth for Kanye. It was a business arrangement. It was a business agreement. It was able to climb up that star power. But the same people you see on your way up is the same people you see on your way down. The same things that you did always going to come back to haunt you. Just like no matter what Kim says, whether it's positive or negative, people are always going to be like, but you fucked Brandy's little brother. That's always going to be her moniker. And I feel like with Kim, she wanted to prove that she also can be rich and famous for no reason, but she can evade her coming to know story, that she could somehow be an other, be not reminded of who she is and where she came from. That's something that she always used to fake cry on demand about, like, oh my God, people keep talking about the sex tape. I feel humiliated. But every time you see her, she's selling her titties, she's selling her ass, she's selling her Venusian energy. So again, a form of magic. Saying one thing but doing something totally different. That's a form of manipulation. Magic is only a form of manipulation. So your actions don't match up with your words. So with this, I feel like with the Ten of Wands, they both felt very burdened by each other, pretending to not see what it is. Kanye always knew Kim was money hungry. He always knew. There's an alleged conversation where they say Kris Kardashian slips into the marriage contract, so like the prenuptials, that every so often these men who marry her daughter have to upkeep the lifestyle, buy a certain model of a car, so like every 2 years upgrade the car or something, like that type of doctrine in the marriage. Nothing about that balanced Libra energy of being diplomatic, about being in courtship, about being amicable. No, it's all about how do I entrap you in paperwork. If I can't entrap you with a marriage, I'm going to entrap you with a baby. Because Kim made sure to get pregnant quick, fast, in a hurry with Kanye's baby, and her marriage to Chris Humphries. Some people, their benefits at their job didn't kick in faster than Kim got married and divorced. And the only reason Kim got divorced was because she was pregnant with Kanye's baby. And Chris Humphries was trying to make the marriage work, but Kim was like, no, I got a better deal out there. And Chris Humphries was like, I'm not going to give you a divorce. And she was like, okay, well, how do you feel now that I am impregnated by a different man? A woman like that, you are really that shocked would sleep with your adversary in the rap game, that you are really that shocked a woman like that would have Drake sleep with her? Why not? Her whole career is based off of what black dick she could ride into wealth. And that's exactly what she did. So with that, it's like burdened by the truth, burdened by reality, burdened by that shadow energy. It's like one day you realize that cute little laugh is really a snort and it irks your nerves. You realize that this ain't it, or you realize that that thing that you used to tolerate is something that you can't tolerate anymore. That's what they're learning about each other. Like the one thing that they used to think that was cute, that was sexy, is no longer cute, is no longer sexy. We got the Son of Swords, so this is more so like the Knight of Swords. We get this in reverse. They're not talking. And I feel like if they are talking, it's very much like short texts, or I'm talking to my assistant and my assistant is calling his assistant or her assistant. And it's like, well, I'm going to tell my friend to tell his friend, and his friend's going to tell. It's that type of energy, childish. It's using other people as pawns, it's using other people as buffers to transmit messages to each other, but also as a way of like, I'm too busy, I'm too popular, I'm too booked, I'm too busy to talk to you. Very immature. This is very much childish. This is very much not even high school, like middle school type shit. But that's their behavior, that's their coping mechanisms. Interestingly enough, the card right underneath it is the Hierophant. This is the card for marriage. They're not talking to each other. They're not talking in regards to couple, in regards to parenthood, in regards to like how to better mediate things. It's very much, if I'm not talking to you through my publicist, through my assistant, through TMZ and blogs, and I'm not talking to you at all. Or like I'll hop on my Instagram, post a picture, but like throw some subs. Like that's how they are communicating. Again, 40-year-old grown ass people with kids now acting this way because they were not forced to mature. That's one thing famous people have a hard time understanding, because they are stunted, psychologically stunted, and people treat them as if they're infantile. They don't learn certain things that we regular folks have to learn, because no one's going to cut us a slack. No one's going to treat us any different because we're not rich. We're not celebrities. We as regular folks, no one minces words for us, right? No one says things and does things that's outside of themselves. Ooh, let me show y'all the deck. Outside of yourselves, or outside of the expectation. No one cuts slack for us. No one grades us on a sliding scale, because we are everyday people. So the expectation is the same. As well as people won't do certain things that is outside of their moral code, because there's nothing persuading them elsewhere. Meaning that for most grown ass people, if someone was like, "Oh, I don't want to talk to my baby daddy, you talk to him for me," we'll be like, "Man, get out of here. You deal with your own mess. I'm not about to call this man. I'm not about to call this woman. You handle your business." But when it comes to celebrities, people will willingly sign up to be fans and stands and a troll and do all this extra stuff. And I'm talking about this is everyday fandom. I'm not even talking about the friends and the stylist and the nail tech and the wigology, the this and the who would love to be in the middle of the drama, right? As we get older, the less drama we should have in our lives, because at a particular point, our cognitive abilities and our abilities to judge situations, our interests, our maturity just doesn't allow room for that anymore, because it no longer resonates with who we are as people. But for them, with their stunted maturity and growth, they are living as if they are still 16, or they're still whatever age. And there is a thing, I don't know how true it is. Some people say that when you become famous, the age you become famous is when your brain has stopped maturing. I don't know how true that is, but you see this with certain particular celebrities. They might be old as shit, but they still act like they're teenagers. They might have grandkids, but they're still acting like they're fresh out of like high school. And it's just like that doesn't go together. Especially when it comes to these rappers, because these rappers really be out here dressing like 16-year-olds on some back to school shopping. It's like, sir, you don't own no loafers. But anyways, anyways, you're seeing that they're repeating the same childish things because their brains aren't fully developed. And a healthy brain without trauma, and a healthy brain that is raised around people, everyday people, average people, so no one's coddling you, no one is enabling your bad behaviors, your brain develops by your mid-20s, so around 25, 26. Kanye had a brain injury when he was in a car early on in his career, where he had his mouth wired. So who's to say that traumatic injury has prevented him, not an excuse, but has prevented him from maturing. And then with the added bonus of fame, it's like an open wound. It's not allowed to mature and heal because too many people enable his bad behavior. And with Kim, she being raised in an elite bubble, a parasite bubble, the parasite class, as I say, she is not able to see the errors of her way because she's able to use emotional manipulation, those white tears, but also she is surrounded by yes people. Yes people will never tell you the truth because the difference between regular folks and rich folks is someone tells a poor person or a middle class person the truth, their feelings might get hurt, but that poor class, regular middle class person does not have the power to blackball them, to fire them, to do anything that would cost the person, the truth teller, their daily bread. Whereas a rich person has the power to do so. And that's why people don't tell rich people the truth. Because if they are offended, it's not just, oh, fuck you, I don't talk to you no more. Bye, I don't like you anymore. It's very much, I want to cancel you in real life. I want to make your life harder for you. I want to make sure no one is friends with you. No one wants to be caught dead with you. I want to make sure that you are never able to get hired. Like, I want to make your life miserable. And because people fear that, they don't tell rich people, wealthy people the truth. And they rather allow these people to live in a bubble of delusion than to tell them the truth because they fear that retribution. But allowing these people to live in this insanity, in this fake bubble, not only hinders their own mental and spiritual growth, but it also backfires and becomes toxic onto us because we got to answer for their bad behavior, right? Whether you are a fan and you're making excuses for the bad behavior, or whether you just happen to be of the same sex or the same race, now that person, that rich, isolated incident becomes a reflection of the whole. And now the whole has to come out and pick sides and validate and this and a third because this is a cultural culture. We all are cultural critiques. So I see with this particular energy, it's very chaotic. It's very push and pull. It's very much like the hidden coming to a surface. Like having, like, let's say kombucha. I drink kombucha. When you shake it up too much and it starts exploding, it's that type of energy. And they're exploding on each other and exploding onto the public scene. We have the Five of Swords. With the Five of Swords being here and it's split like that, it looks like a worm from the ground, and it's split. More of that Swords energy. Again, Libra moon, Libra sun, Kim, Pisces moon, Kim, Gemini sun, Kanye, Pisces moon, Kanye. Again, they don't have the ability to see themselves. They cannot see, first of all, because their brand is so intertwined, Kim Ye, they don't understand that they are cutting their nose to spite their face. It's not looking good for them in a public space because now people are like, are they functional enough to like maintain parenthood? Like, should someone call the cops? Someone call CPS? Like, someone gonna put a 51A? Because it's just getting to the point where it's just crazy now, right? But also their brands are so intertwined. They're a quote unquote power couple. So the more that they try to diss each other, they're dissing themselves because ultimately with 4 kids, your brand, your name, your legacy is tied to one another, whether good or bad. This is why it's very important that you choose carefully who you have children with because you will forever be tied to that legacy. You will always be tied to that family. So unlike a, let's say, boyfriend and girlfriend situation, if y'all break up, y'all break up, you go your separate ways, it is what it is. But when you married, whether you have kids or especially if you have kids, but either whether you have kids or don't have kids, you are tied to each other, right? When you're married, you're tied to each other. And when you have kids, even if you divorce, you're still tied to each other because you have kids together. And even when they become adults, you are still tied to you. You gonna forever be a mother. That's just how that shit work. So with this particular energy, it's like when you go out here and you try to slander your ex-husband, you know that's less money coming into y'all's collective household, right? Because that's going to take money out of his pockets, and that's going to take away money that's going into your children's college fund or their famous for nothing funds or their cockamania inventions and endeavors that you could pay for because they're going to be trust fund babies anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Like, that takes away from you ultimately. And the same thing with Kanye. Trying to make her look like this and a third is only going to have less brand deals coming her way. And that's not me caping for capitalism. It's not me making excuses for them. I think they'll be very, very okay. They are very, very wealthy. I think together they are well over $1 billion brand. They are not going broke anytime soon. But you can definitely lose public favor. In a time where people are experiencing gas hikes, inflation, uh, long lines at the soup kitchen, people barely able to fill up their grocery carts without wincing. Like, people, everyday people are going through everyday struggles. People are not trying to hear Days of Our Lives Wealth Edition. Like, no one cares about poor little white girl, poor little rich white girl tears. Nobody cares about rich ass, uh, emotionally manipulative trauma drama Kanye West tears. Like, no one cares about that. People are coming back into what makes sense to them, what matters to them, what they truly value. And people are realizing their health matters, that they need to take time off, that they need to call out these trash ass employers who overwork their employees, who create wage theft or try to union bust like Amazon and a John Deere strikes and the Kellogg strikes and the Starbucks strikes. Like, people are realizing that their lives matter, their family matters. People are realizing that the end all be all isn't work, that working for this capitalist system isn't the bee's knees. Like, you should have, people are realizing, like, damn, how much time did I miss being around my kids, being around my family because I was cooped up in the office. A lot of people are realizing like life work balance has to be a priority. People are realizing that even this American dream, there's certain movements starting and going on. One within China called the laying flat movement, which is basically like, I'm gonna live for my right now, not in the sense of impulsivity, but in the sense of like, I can't plan for the future because the future is not promised. The future can always be topsy-turvy. We saw that during the pandemic. So a lot of people are saying, you know what, I'm not going to work my ass off just to buy a house and then have to pay a mortgage to a bank for 50 years. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to work a part-time job that pays like the bare necessities, and the rest of my time I'm going to travel, I'm going to do this, I'm going to that. There's a lot of videos on YouTube right now where people are like, I lost faith in the American dream. It did not benefit me in the least bit. A lot of people are hit with student loan debt. Like, a lot of people are going through a lot of things. No one has any leftover emotional label for two spoiled, delayed, wealthy jackasses. Period. So they are tripping over their feet just to spite each other, and it's ultimately going to reflect horribly on them, their families, and even their kids. We have the magician energy here. So this is very much Gemini energy. It's very much Gemini energy, especially when we're talking about the lovers here. This could also mean in regards to siblings. I feel like with this, nobody in the Kardashian family is really talking to Kanye. If anything, it's more like extended family, so like a cousin or a niece or this, that, and a third. And they can see both sides, but they are seeing what's in it for them. So it's like, if Kim asks me, oh, is Kanye being unreasonable? I'm gonna say, yeah, Kanye is being unreasonable. But if I need something from Kanye and Kanye calls me, Kanye's like, yo, Kim's a bitch. I'm like, yeah, Kim's a bitch. Like, well, this particular energy is yes men, but it's also like, how do I capitalize off of other people's downfalls? Unfortunately, we live in a very parasitic society. People love to see the Coliseum. People love to see the knockdown, drag out show, but also people are trying to see how they could flip that into monetary gains. Again, everybody's feeling the crunch, especially when it comes to this economic system, this late stage capitalism. So with the magician, being here clarifying this Five of Swords, they have no idea that they are working against themselves and each other, trying to tear each other down. And it's really because they're still stuck on themselves, they're still stuck on their ego, and they both feel hurt. I feel like a lot, both of them feel manipulated. A lot of them, both of them feel unheard. Both of them feel as if like they lost a part of them to gain the other person's favor. But like Kanye realized how skullduggery Kim was now, and I feel like with Kim felt as if she had to give up parts of herself or change part of herself to fit into Kanye's ideal of her. And even though it sounds kind of weird, even me coming out of my own mouth, I'm like, what the fuck? But I feel like there's parts of her where she feels that she had to change herself or be something other than herself to reach Kanye's attention, Kanye's gaze. And maybe even Kanye like stepped out on her or made her feel less than. But I feel like she sincerely tried to be his trophy, whatever that means. And I feel like for Kanye felt like whatever he did wasn't good enough. He still feels like Kim betrayed him by going with Drake, and he feels insecure. He feels like he's quote unquote that nigga. Like he's that dude. He won in every way, shape, or form, but he still feels insecure, and he feels still feels empty, and he feels still feels like he lacks in some area. And I feel like this is more so emotionally, like emotional intelligence, emotional maturity, empathy, especially with women. I feel like with his particular energy, he still feels regret and loss for his mother. Like he feels responsible for her death. I also feel as if like he knows that he has been grimy towards black women, but like the ego of him not admitting what he did, the lack of cognitive discipline of him being empathetic and being able to see it from black women's point of view, in his mind it's like it's not that big of a deal, like I'm black, my mama black. But it's like he lacks the ability or the desire to see like how that could be perceived as very heinous to black women. um and I feel like Kanye's still trying to prove himself to others, prove his legacy, prove his iconage. And that does very much burden him. That very much makes him feel insecure that like his position within music and the rap game feels unstable. Like again, with the your whole brand is your face, your body, you're always going to feel insecure to a certain degree because there's always a new girl, right? There's always a new rapper chick with Nicki Minaj with all the other hot girls. There's always a new, acapella R&B chickadee with, Beyonce. That's how why she has Haley and Chloe. In particular, Chloe is taking the guidance from Beyonce. It's kind of the same thing with Kanye in regards to the music industry. Like it has changed, the rules has changed. Like now you don't even really have to be a producer to quote unquote make music. You don't even have to be a real rapper to rap. It's becoming more gentrified, commercialized, capitalized, very much automatic or automated. And I feel like Kanye feels that he has to consistently reaffirm his placement within the culture, his placement within the music industry, because he feels as if like if he sleeps, he wakes up, there's a new Kanye or there's a new hot young guy coming up, and like Kanye's somewhere blown in the wind. He's very insecure about like losing his positionality, and like in his mind, very ridiculous. He thinks that he might go back to being a nobody or go back to like starting from the bottom where he had that like Dora the Explorer, Louis Vuitton knapsack, and he's gonna have to go way back to like the beginning. His very much insecure placement. And I feel like the issue with him and Drake in regards to Kim is insecure because like most men, he's gonna want to be like, did he make you come? Did you like it? Is his dick bigger than mine? Typical insecure shit. But he also feels like he lost a lot of like respect, credit. Like he had to vouch for her in so many spaces. And for her to do that to him is like, yeah, you could fuck over those other dudes because I'm Kanye. But like to fuck Kanye over for some other dude, it's like, oh hell no. So it makes him feel rejected and dejected like he did before he was famous. Before he was famous, some might call him a lame or a dork or a square. And Kim doing that with Drake to him makes him feel all that much insecure like he once did. But that is what I'm pulling out from this particular reading. This was something different because I usually just do all the 12 signs within the zodiac, post some messages for the individual signs and some oracle messages. But this was interesting. It was different, but it's very interesting. It's interesting to shadow and channel in other people's energy for the particular reading. I don't recommend channeling often, and I also don't recommend eavesdropping on other people's spiritual uh, moments. But it's interesting to pick up those particular energies. And I do feel like both of them are still processing some type of childhood wound, some type of insecurity, some type of abandonment, some type of like, I wasn't good enough. Or maybe you left me because of like, I wasn't this, that, or the third. Allegedly, Kim was very much of a daddy's girl, and Kanye was very much of a mama's boy. And even though Kanye's mother passed when he was an adult, Kanye was very much dependent on her, especially emotionally, I feel. And I feel like Kim, her dad was very much her rock. Her dad was very much her protector, her savior, like very much her role model. And like his passing does really hit her. It does impact her. She thinks about him often. And the decisions that she makes, the men that she entertains, even like her son, a lot of that is tied to her father. Like, if my father was alive, what would he think? What would he say? Type of tease. All right. So I just shuffled and cracked open the Dark Mirror Oracle deck. We're going to get one card in particular for each person. I'm going to start with Kim and see what is the overall energy for her. The Dark Mirror Oracle deck very much tells you about your shadow, certain aspects of yourself that you need to work on, certain things that you may not be aware of, what is affecting you, and so on and so forth, especially if you want to do that soul work, that soul energy. I would definitely recommend the Dark Mirror Oracle deck. Come on, Kim. You love to talk, so talk to us. Give us something. Tell us something. You love to talk. And she thinks her father was like a hard worker, a hard provider. Like, he made sure they didn't go without. He really took care of home. Very traditional as well. That's what I'm picking up. Fragmentation, number 27. So this is the energy for Kim. We're going to read the book. It very much looks like a dragonfly. Wings with one of those old like Roman statues with flowers on the shoulder area, and then there's a chain link underneath that, and then behind the head is a crescent moon, but it's upside down. So hopefully this could be seen and captured. Is number 27, fragmentation, identity crisis, ego death. Very much matches with the theme. Oh, my bad. Number 27, fragmentation. Make sure it's seen. Okay. Moon phase, waxing crescent, stage, anger. When rage is projected inwards, destruction joins confusion and we break. Visual seed. What seems to be a cold iron coat rack is topped by a broken stone statue of a fairy, visible only from the chest up. Stone roses are at her breast. A crack cuts her face and her body. A jewel is on her forehead, and silvery insect wings stand at her back. A crescent green, a golden slice of the moon is like an halo behind her head. It is possible to glimpse suspended in the void as the hands of the stone fairy. Sentence. Losing a sense of self is a crescendo of noise, a crescendo of pain, and a prelude to nothingness, going dark. If I were to cut off my legs, would I still be me? If I were to carve out my heart, would I still be mean? If my flesh would turn to stone, if my lungs were emptied of air, if my dream to fly were to be forced in chains and hanged out like an expired balloon, would I still be me? I fought and lost, broken, beyond recognition, not by the shallow sight of bystanders who can pity but who cannot understand. I cannot even recognize myself through the sobs, through the tears, and when silence finally comes, choke the empty motions and the conventional smiles. Who did this to me? I did. Maybe, maybe not. What is broken can be mended, not so that it returns whole, but at least until it tells his name anew, my name. And who will do this for me? I will. It's about losing yourself and having to pick yourself back up. Yeah, like I did feel that particular energy. There's an energy within Kim where she feels like she did what she had to do to climb up the like social economic ladder, like capitalize off of her brand, capitalize off of being former West. Like she did everything to get where she got, and she's still unhappy because she doesn't know her true self. Like this woman changes her face every photo shoot. She's always doing something to herself, whether it is doing her makeup so she looks a particular ethnic way, whether it's darkening her body makeup where she looks more biracial, like she's once looked like a wisdom tooth because the ass thing looks and sits weird. Like she's always shape shifting, fragmentation, not sure of who she is and what she represents. And now she has a daughter to role model for, and she doesn't even know who she is. She doesn't know what's her role model. She doesn't know what to feel and who to be because she spent so much of her time being something other than herself. She has 3 daughters that she has a role model for. And Lord forbid they turn out to be just like her and the other sisters. Interestingly enough, they all but one dipped their genealogy in blackness, like fetishes, where they had to wear the darker tone makeup. Their children will already have the darker tone. Where they have to do fake baby hairs, their daughters will probably already have fake baby hairs. Where they had to parade around in black culture through black men, their daughters will already be automatically considered as black women. And in this colorist and sexist society, they will be seen as the creme de la creme or the standard. They will be seen as more valuable in the authentic image of black women, them being biracial, them being of a higher class, them not having any relatable black experiences will now be seen as the standard. Let's see the energy around Kanye. What is Kanye's Dark Mirror Oracle card? Give me some insight. Get one card. Kanye loves to talk. Speak your speech. What you got to say, Kanye? What's Kanye's energy? And I feel like maybe both of them have stopped screaming or was going through something because my throat feels blocked. Either like when you're just about to get a cold, or when you have like mucus in your throat, or you've been yelling and your voice is sore, or you've just been going through high stress. Like I feel that within my throat, and it's not a me thing. So maybe they have been feeling that way. We have Parasite number 19, and it's also a crescent moon. Yikes. Parasite. Whew. Let's see what that's about. And 27 added together gives you 9. And this is 19. Parasite. So who's the parasite? Is it Kanye or is it Kim? Who? I think he probably thinks she is. But I bet you he doesn't think he is. That's the gag. He probably thinks she is, but he doesn't think he is. Okay. Parasite, moon phase, waxing crescent, stage depression. Whereas Kim stage number 27, fragmentation, stage anger, parasite for Kanye, also crescent, but it is stage depression. When the only answer to lack of self sufficiency is to cling to another one. Visual seed. A long haired man with a pale face, heavy lids, eyelids, a dull chain. Let me read that again. A long haired man with a pale face, heavy eyelids, a dull golden chain drapes over his forehead, around his body, and through his body. A poisonous ivy grows and clings subtly to him. Sentence. What can't survive alone will seek company, but instead of growing together, they will wither together. Oh, such a perfect example of the situation with Kanye. Instead of growing together, they're just having public egos and battle of the personalities together. And I feel like they both stifled each other's growth, spiritually mature, and even like in their personhood, because they wanted the control, they wanted the fame, and they wanted the money. What can't survive alone will seek company, but instead of growing together, they will wither together, going dark. Relationships are not a zero sum game. Of course, quote, using, quote, each other, of course, using, in quotations, each other is part of the game, but it's quite different when use take the shape of supporting rather than manipulating or exploiting. In the long run, a good relationship is a win-win where the more I give, the more I get, and the other way around. Still, it's not also like this, isn't it? Not just in bad relationship. In the short run, bad is bound to happen even in the house of true love. We cling, we bite, we hunger for safety and freedom and support. This is definitely Kanye. And on the other side, we get mangled, bitten, demanded on. Well, it happens. It happened. And it will happen again. It is part of the game. But if it happens too often, it creates a toxic environment. It doesn't matter if we are the victim or the perpetrator, as poison is shared equally. Yes, yes. One could say Kim was the parasite in the beginning, but once they got together and they started using each other and manipulating each other and enchanting each other, love spells on each other, that's when they equally became toxic. It doesn't matter who did what and when, where, why, how. If all of y'all are complicit, and they all are complicit, both of them. Especially when you get into that energy of one upping each other. One gets the pain, another one gets the advantage. But the toxic part, they both get. Fully a parasite, a leech, kills itself as much as it kills the host. Again, with them trying to emotionally trigger each other, trying to claw at each other, trying to use public persuasion, it's harming you both. Both. It sacrifices the journey to the destination and then the destination to its own failures. Lack of accountability. The problem is not living as sheeps, but the true problem is living as a sheep for 100 years. The problem is not living as sheeps, but the true problem is living as a sheep for 100 years, allowing yourself to be manipulated by yourself. It's your own self treachery. It's your own fuck up. It's like you self sabotaging yourself when you betray yourself. I feel like A lot of the things people were saying to Kanye about Kim, he saw it, he knew it, but he felt like he could do better. He could change her. He could, you know, change the narrative. Like he just felt like he could do something that other people couldn't, and it was his test subject, his pet project, his ego, his involvement, his desire to be able to be like, I quote unquote bagged her and I reformed her. That was his like flex. Whereas Kim, it was like, this is an opportunity to get me to the next step. Like being married to Chris Humphries could only get me so far. But like fucking around with Kanye, that opens doors in the fashion industry. That opens doors in the music industry. That opens doors with A-listers. Like Beyonce had to work her ass off to be in certain spaces, whereas Kim Kardashian literally just had to fuck the right black guy. And then came out not too long ago on what, March 9th, the day right after International Women's Day, and March being very Pisces energy, feminine energy, and Women's History Month is March. Kim Kardashian coming out and saying, well, I don't care if people think me and my family are rich for nothing. We had the luxury of not having to act, not having to dance, not having to do any of these things. We just live our lives. And basically, that was a diss to the everyday working woman, even those in celebrity spaces who had to work their way in, because she's always been a parasite. She's always been a spoiled rich girl. She's from Beverly Hills. She was born in wealth. That's why, in her mind, she thinks she works just as hard as a poor working class woman. We know the society doesn't go around without poor labor, correct? But in her mind, her labor and her energy is graded on a higher scale as someone who actually gets off their ass and work. Meanwhile, she can steal brands. Meanwhile, she can fuck the right man of power. Meanwhile, she can emotionally manipulate people to buy her junk. And she thinks that's as much labor and as much worthy labor, and to be priced and taxed at a higher rate than someone who does, let's say, childcare, or someone who, let's say, does CNA or works in fast food. The illusion. And because, again, a lot of people do not check rich people. And rich people have the power to make life hard for the people who check them, because they want to live in a delusional fantasies. They want to live out their God complex. They never have to face their true selves. But when they have these ego deaths and when they are tit for tat for each other, that's when they have to recognize their true selves. What Kanye is saying about Kim, parts of that is right. What Kim is saying about Kanye, part of that is right. But because they are no longer glamored by each other, they can tell each other the truth. But they reject that truth. And the way that they reject that truth is by tearing down the other person, not realizing that they're tearing down each other. You're spilling each other's secrets. You both look bad. So that is what's going on with them. On a global scale, we see the same thing with Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine was part of the USSR, and with a lot of other neighboring countries, they were part of the USSR. The only reason why NATO is involved and the Biden administration is involved in Ukraine is because they had shicey backhand deals, especially back to 2014 during the Obama presidency. They put in a puppet president, Zelensky, and the people of Ukraine elected fairly a president. The United States didn't like that president, made sure that he got clipped, and then installed Zelensky. And Zelensky has been working with neo-Nazis, and Zelensky is really very much playing a Trojan horse, trying to low-key threaten Russia's borders on the behalf of the United States, not understanding that they're just a pawn. And the real goal is to shake Russia. But Russia is playing another game where Russia's like, if you put sanctions on me, not only do I control the wheat production throughout the world, but also I've already had certain measures put in place. Visa and MasterCard said, okay, we're not going to fund Russians. And then the Chinese, the CCP government was like, you know what? You can use our credit system. You can use our way of doing transactions. Because even though the CCP, they're not communists, they just call the Chinese Communist Party. They're not communists. They're very much capitalist, just like most countries on this planet, right? they also don't want the hegemony of the United States. They want to far advance the United States in technology as well as with their own economy. So they've already put certain measures that if the United States wanted to harm them, like they are doing Russia, that they have certain allies that will still back them up. Russia has made a lot of allies with Cuba, Iran, Venezuela, China, and those are the countries who the United States have often bullied, put sanctions on, currently has sanctions on Venezuela, currently has sanctions on Cuba, currently is bombing Iran. Like, these countries are not friendly towards the United States. So a lot of these NATO powers, which is like Western Europe, the United States, and Japan, they're falling in line. But a lot of these other countries that have been bullied and colonized and had a lot of imperialism inflict rabid violence on them, they're trying to see what Russia doing so they can see if they can align with Russia. Recently, India, who has for the most part sided with the United States when it comes to geopolitics, bought some gas from Russia using rubies. That is the Russian currency. Technically, you can't buy no gas, especially from Saudi Arabia, without you buying it in US dollars. That's why it's called the petrodollar. It's connected to the oil. But since Russian oil has been blocked, other countries are like, you know what? I'm not going to adhere. I'm not going to adhere to sanctions, and I'm still going to do business with Russia. F what you heard. And Saudi Arabia, that's ruled by the human violators of Saudi Arabian kingdom, the prince ain't really too friendly with the Biden administration. So while Biden is trying to kowtow to the prince and get the prince to pump more oil, the prince isn't pumping more oil, but he is picking up Putin's phone calls. So you're seeing a change in power and alignment and allyship on the global scales, what is seen and what is unseen. The media, the mainstream media, will have you believe all types of falsities, especially if we're talking about the same media that's doing censorship, that is blocking people from speaking the truth, that are removing independent medias off of this platform, YouTube and other platforms, blackballing people. That same government, the same government that told you this and a third about COVID, and during the whole pandemic kept on switching up their policies and their guidelines every which way, like that government. So you're seeing the government even blatantly saying, they're funding neo-Nazis to the point where they can't even hide the neo-Nazi symbols. Where reporters are saying, we feel empathetic that Ukrainians are being harmed, which I'm not okay with. I'm not against, I'm not for any war. I'm against all types of war, no matter what. But you see these reporters, these European reporters saying, we feel bad because the victims are blonde hair and blue-eyed people. In their minds, they are real people. They are real victims. They are more civilized. Whereas the global south, the Afghanistans, the Pakistans, the Somalias, the Yemen, brown people, them getting bombed, they're savages, not really fully like human anyways. Who cares? So you're seeing, like, again, with that Pisces energy, the known and the unknown, you're seeing a lot of shadow energies coming to the forefront. January 6th, neo Nazis, bad, 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 because they voted Trump and not Hillary. But Ukrainian neo Nazis, we have to fund them against the evil Russians. You see how we're seeing the manipulation? They're saying that they have bioweapons or bio research labs in Ukraine, but they're scared that the Russians might get a hold of it. Like, do you see that they're spinning the narrative? They're not talking about how the Ukrainian military has been terrorizing a lot of ethnic Russians in New Ukraine before the war, and they've been doing it for 8 years. And Putin has been telling the Ukraine president, like, look, you need to chill out on that shit, or we're going to do something about it. Like, they're all going to act like they didn't see the warnings. They're all going to act like Putin's out of his mind. And this is not a plea for Russia. This is not me making excuses for Russia, because, again, I am not for any type of war. However, I'm also not for imperialism. I'm also not for colonization. I'm also not for NATO. Like, abolish NATO. Like, I'm not for these things. I'm not for geopolitics where you're starving people through sanctions. Like, I'm not okay with that. And that's something that we're seeing to the forefront. A lot of people are realizing, like, hey, you got money for COVID tests to come in the mail for free, but you got $14 billion for Ukraine. Hey, you don't have money for Medicare for all, but you have $14 billion for Ukraine. Hey, you just did those child tax credit cuts, but like you have $14 billion for Ukraine. Like, hey, gas is mad expensive, but like you got money, you got $14 billion for Ukraine. Like a lot of people are realizing like what is being said is not what's being done. A lot of people are seeing that this jingoism, this America first, it's all manipulation. While the same people who say they hear you, they see you, have $14 billion to give to neo-Nazis in Ukraine. So it's a lot of things coming to the surface and a lot of people realizing like what is their worth in regards to material, in regards to legacy, in regards to routine. What is it worth? Is this job worth my sanity? Is this relationship worth my commitment? A lot of people are realizing the things about themselves that they have neglected to work on and need to work on. So that is the collective energy. That is the Kim Ye energy. And that is the energy of this full moon ceremony. Hopefully something I said resonated with you. If you relate to anything that I said within this reading, definitely leave your comments down below. Please like, please comment, share, and subscribe. Definitely subscribe. Would love to have you on this channel. On this channel, I do painting sessions called Paint Your Truth, Process Painting, where I just talk. We talk about mental health. We talk about life as I paint. And we also do like full moon ceremonies and spiritual workshops on this channel as well. So definitely subscribe if that is content that you like. You can also find me on Instagram, Paint Your Truth _. Don't forget the underscore. TikTok, Travel Tales. Tales with SZ. Travel TRAVEL. Tales TALESZ. And you can also find me on Facebook, Paint Your Truth. And you can also find me on Tumblr, Paint Your Truth, and email paintyourtruth.art@gmail.com. And if you are in the Massachusetts area and you would be interested in process painting, definitely reach out to me via email. And lastly, if you would like to show your gratitude for this particular reading, you can always show your gratitude via Cashapp at WV. Let me start all over again. You can show your gratitude via Cashapp. Why do I keep saying W? VWCine. Cashapp VWCine. But that's all I have for y'all. Have a wonderful full moon time. This energy will last between 6 weeks, give or take. And if it applies, definitely do that shadow work. And if it doesn't, let it fly. And with all that being said, y'all, be blessed, be enlightened, be loved. I am out. Peace.